Now, do you want to stop that for now?
Yes, you can stop that.
Where do
If
you,
you tap again, right there, and
there's participants.
so.
Stop recording,
Recording right here.
paused. Here. There. It really doesn't give you much time at all, does it?
No, it doesn't. Where was it closed? Captioning, what's up here? Go ahead, Michael.
Okay, call the North Station Building Replacement Committee meeting to order. April 9th, 2025, it's like 5:18 PM. Just go around the table real quick for state your name for the recording. Michael Murdoch,
Don Stewart.
Carl Rocca.
Marie Kilbride.
John Scutel. Tracy Julier.
all right, thank you very much. Any adjustments to the agenda? Anyone need public comment? Approve minutes of the March 12th, 2025 meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes there.
Second motion.
Okay, motion by Carl, second by Tracy, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes approved. Discussion and action. Yes. Well, done with Don and proposal and thoughts and what do you think?
Well, Carl and I talked about this some time back, some time ago, and then you and Carl and I talked. And we discussed the need for someone to spearhead basically take the project from where it is now, which is mostly designed and mostly permitted, and get a set of drawings together, make sure we have all of our permits in order, that we are able to get all of our financing in order, get this into a format that can be properly completed as a set of architectural and a full set of bid drawings, get a group of contractors together to bid the project, and then have a proper bid for the project, organize that, and get the project started by, hopefully, I mean, the idea would be by a little earlier than this next spring, and be done somewhere around Thanksgiving of 2026. And so I submitted a proposal for the review of the select board, and they accepted that. And so I have gotten started by having some meetings. I had a meeting with you, I had a meeting with Carl and Tracy. I'm meeting with Robert Kaneko tomorrow. I've also talked with the folks at Krebs and Lansing, the site engineers, to begin the process. And I have to talk further with Carl about this to get their drawings to the place where they can be complete. And so I'm off and running on this.
Thank you.
Okay, with that said, Don, basically what came up here, why I want to have, and I can have this talk with you right now. What do we anticipate here for the additional costs there for any permits and whatever they're from Krebs?
I will know that by the end of I'll know that by the middle of next week, Carl. I don't know that yet.
Okay,
Because all I've seen from Krebs are 3 civil drawings. 3 civil drawings are not a complete set of drawings. And Scott Homestead said he would go back and look at his drawings, see what he'd done, and look at the permit work that he'd done, collect it all, send it to me. At that point, I will review it, and then I will submit to you. I will ask him to submit to you and to me a proposal to complete these drawings.
okay.
Would that be the right way to do this?
That would be the right way to do that. And just because the select board is ultimately in charge of all that stuff.
Mhm.
What I wanna throw out there is to say, well, because we have two different funds, we have the fire station fund, and then we have the public works fund, okay? So there's monies in both of those. However, ultimately, the town will own both buildings, okay? But what we'd like to do is try to attach a number saying, well, okay, if he put, let's say he did 6 hours additional work, 4 hours there he spent on the fire station.
Okay,
And 2 hours on the public works, so that we have that,
okay,
so we can put that in the appropriate column.
okay, so you want costs segregated between these?
We
two
would like to
projects.
do that just so that
Okay.
for down the road there that we know, so it's not just a mishmash of money, you know. We'd like to have that, plus there, the bond bank is gonna wanna know when we go for bonding, and I don't know if, I asked Lisa there to send something to you and me. We're out of luck, I think, now this year. I mean, it has to actually be in there. Request has to be in by May 1st. We aren't ready for that.
No,
So the next one there is in December, I believe. So, we'd have to, we have to make sure that all our ducks in a row there by December. And then we have to submit, and we have to submit quite a bit of information. So with that being said there, we need to have them segregated.
okay, that's fine.
Okay,
Carl, it will be advantageous then to try to keep my time segregated as well. Even though my proposal was for the totality of the project.
Yep.
Still like to see those. costs
well,
segregated as much as possible.
to the best of your ability. I mean, as far as saying, well, okay, I spent X amount of time on this one, whatever. I wouldn't get too over the top, because in that particular one there, we have okayed yours.
Right.
Okay. That is going to more than likely end up being part of the bond.
All right,
All right, that we wrap that up into part of the bond there, so. Because when we submit all this stuff there to the bond bank, they want to see all these numbers, so.
there,
All right.
there will be additional architectural costs.
Yeah.
And subject to those costs, there will also be mechanical, some costs for mechanical, electrical and structural engineers. Well, I don't think those will be very large,
Okay.
because the extent of the work that's been done and the relative simplicity of the two buildings.
Yeah. Well, as much as I would love to give you 100% carte blanche here to spend whatever you want, I can't. Okay,
Understood.
so, all right, perfect.
But typically historically, what we've been doing, so like Bob would come in with his two bills. He would present them to us, we would approve them, then they go to the select board for their final approval based on our recommendation.
Yeah, and then the checks are cut.
So there's kind of a two-party approval, if you will.
Okay, so the bills will go to the building replacement committee for approval.
Yeah, I think what Robert does is he submits them to Lisa Stewart. She prepares them when we come to our meeting and they're here. We review, discuss, and we kind of like approve them here at the meeting, and then they go to the select board.
In the select board meetings there, we have our warrants there every, the first and third Mondays of the month.
Okay,
So, and of course, in order to warn this stuff, we would like to get stuff there in a timely fashion, not necessarily Monday evening, because then that would have to go to the next meeting.
then I'll go over with Lisa a little bit of this procedurally.
Yep.
And I'll make sure that they're done, that the billings are done in a procedural fashion that makes sense for you'd
Yeah.
be able to approve them as quick as possible.
And provided that we don't have a holiday there, that the select board actually decides to cancel one of their meetings. And then start.
Not an issue.
Yeah. What else?
Well, I'm glad you asked. I have, as I've reviewed the drawings, and just so we're clear about what Robert has done. If you look at his drawings, it says right on here for estimating purposes only. These are not construction drawings.
Right.
Now, Carl has built houses off in the back of an envelope. As many builders have over the years. This set of drawings, if you were to say, Don, just build this for me. I could probably pretty much build this right off of these drawings. However, that is not an acceptable situation to try to get competitive bids on, because people will vastly differentiate between what they think they can do cost wise and what they would prefer to do. And so the correct thing to do with this project, and I'm convinced of this, is to get these two buildings and site drawings into a complete format, single project to be bid by general contractors. So that's what I'm working towards. Within that, obviously, the other side of this is I need to help in any way I can to get the financing prepared, any of the bond voting, those kind of things. So I'm prepared to work on those and put energies into those things. Though those are not particularly my areas of expertise, I'll do any of the work, the preliminary work and the writing and those kind of things to get those prepared. I've also said, as I said to both of you, I'm prepared to help with additional fundraising, as you and I have discussed. I'm prepared to meet with potential donors to talk with people about the importance of this project. That was one of the reasons I quizzed you at some length about the history.
Yep.
And what the fire department does now. The town is a little bit of a different situation. But we're dealing with a building that's 53 years old and has long outlived its useful life. And as time moves forward, our community grows, changes. Requirements of how things are done for municipalities, for fire departments continue to evolve. They generally become more complex. And we're trying to look at this project as we want this to serve our community now and be able to afford to pay for it now in our community, but also to serve our community well for the next 50 years. And I think if we can strike that balance between thinking about what's an affordable project and then and right for our community, and then that we don't want to come back and knock on people's doors in a year or 5 years or 10 years. We want this to work while we're still, the group of us here are still around and having some impact here. And that's my feeling. We'll leave it to our kids and our grandkids to, if they want to make changes, but I think most of that work is actually done. And I think it's been reasonably well considered. And there will be some tweaks to this. I think there's going to be some adjustments for code issues that are still to be addressed. But I think we're in really good shape to know where we're going, and that's so helpful. Because then we're not trying to sort of reinvent the wheel. So I think that part of the work is good. And I'll know more after I talk to Robert tomorrow. And outside of that, I'm still just sort of getting my feet wet. The last one is I am going to next week go and look at the new fire stations in the county. The oldest newer one is in Ulmer, but I'll have a look at that. That's been around quite a while.
Yeah, I
15,
can,
20
the
years.
chief is out of town, I can probably, hook you up with Fire Godfrey, he's the first assistant.
And but I'm just gonna go and look. We want to learn from whatever they did. We want to make sure we're doing it. At least as well. If there's a better way to do it, we want to consider that now. this is the time to consider it and make the improvements and make the right decisions now. Then when you go to build it, you're not making changes. You're not going, oh, we should have thought about that. We want to think through everything at this point. So I'm gonna be the guy with a million questions.
Well, Michael just sent me a picture of one going up there in Shady, is it, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. Our new fire department.
Champlain Fire District.
The New York State has funded fire department buildings. I was talking to a guy who was from west of Plattsburgh, a little tiny community. And he's the second fire chief over there. And he told me that the state of New York ponied up $10 million for this fire station. I mean, it is a monument to the World Fire Service. It's a little tiny town. And apparently, New York State is doing this all over the state.
Yeah, Vermont does not do such.
No, we spend our money in other ways. But the point being is that there is a lot of this going on in New York and it's being done because there is a enormous amount of money available to do this.
Yeah.
So different here. This comes out of our pockets and how we fund things.
And you, right?
Well, thank you. Thank you for jumping in with both feet.
Yes. So.
It's,
The water will get warmer.
yeah.
I suspect.
Do you want a tag along to go to the Grand Isle South Hero or?
Are you talking about you?
Yeah,
That'd be great.
okay.
That'd be fantastic. So I will get it set up. I have some commitments. As I mentioned, I had a few things that were on the agenda for when I got back in
Okay.
early April, but I'm through most of those by the middle of next week.
Okay.
So I'm thinking the end of next week would be a time to do that.
That would be good. Yeah,
And your times are fairly flexible.
they are now. As we approach first of May, not so much.
Votes.
Yes.
And more, folks.
Further discussion about the proposal. I think we pretty much kind of covered that as well. Discussion about the use of Zoom meetings based on town clerk's information.
That's just, I would think whether we want to go with, continue with Zoom or hybrid basically, or just do on ground.
I mean,
I mean, there are other options that didn't seem like you can do all remote, but that doesn't work for what's going to happen here.
right. I'm all for continuing the hybrid model.
Okay.
I'd be okay with that.
Especially going forward as more public information comes out on the project and. You know, we may. Out of curiosity, have some more people jump on and like you said,
It might be good to keep it on.
Yeah.
So we might wanna bring subs in. I don't know how Don's gonna set that up, but,
We'll revisit it there next year.
so is that an annual determination or?
No, you can do it at any time. You can just say, all right, fine, from here on and there, we're not gonna do it, but. I would say at this point in time there, we continue on and then. You know, you see what it is there is that Marie is always going to have to,
Well,
Long as-
somebody in.
well, so you always have to take a look.
Yeah.
At the participant number, so you gotta prompt it here and then, I think there's a way to do it something else.
actually, they'll show up. If
They will
somebody
show up
comes in,
across
they'll
the
show
top.
up.
They'll
across
want
the
to,
street.
they'll want to come in.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah. Do you want a motion to that effect?
Yes, please.
All right, I'll make a motion there that we continue there with Zoom for our, North Station Building Replacement Committee, that we continue with, Zoom.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, motion by Carl, seconded by Tracy, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries, thank you. Okay, approval of invoices, do we have any? I
Don't think so.
don't think so. Agenda building.
I think the big thing will be updates from Don Stewart. And that'll be one.
Because is this, as we progress through this, I mean, we can,
Right now, Don is making it very easy there for me and probably you
Well,
and Tracy.
absolutely, I mean, yeah.
So let's take advantage of it, okay?
As things progress and there's items we need to add to the agenda, I mean,
Right.
you know, via the email chain, we can,
Mhm.
yeah, as long as we make sure it's on and
Yeah.
warned.
So if anything comes up there, Don, there that you see there that would potentially require a vote, then get that with Marie. Like to say, well, you know, let's say that there's an invoice there or that you have to, you bought a cup of coffee, I don't, you know, that wouldn't be the case, but you know, any invoices there have to be paid for, whatever, that you get with Marie on that.
All right,
And then anything else there, I mean, like decision making, we should probably have that on the agenda. We'll have your updates, but, you know, if you say, well, we have to decide now whether or not we're going to use pea stone or if we're gonna use pave it or whatever, I don't know. I mean, I'm just throwing this stuff out, but.
Yep.
If there's any gotchas that require more, a more immediate approach, you know, we can always warn a special meeting. As long as the warning is done.
Yep.
Um,
Special meetings are what, 48 hours?
Yeah.
Emergency meetings there can be done at any time, but I don't foresee that we need an emergency. meeting.
I'm going to do everything within my ability to avoid this. You've got everybody sitting here has, except us old retired people like me and John. Only have, you guys, John probably only has 3 or 4 jobs that he's doing right now. I only have 2 or 3. And you guys only have 2 or 3 jobs each, so. What I'll try to do, and it may take me a while to get in the pattern of it doing, but I will write a report. And submit that report so that that can be added to the agenda as a secondary item or just
Yep,
noted
yep.
that it's there. You'll get that every month.
Perfect.
If that's, and it's not, it's really good for me to do, because it gives me a chance to collect all my thoughts and go, okay, we're good here, we're behind here, this is on track or off track, so it helps me to collect myself as well. So I have no objection to it.
And any one of us there is available via phone too, and you need to call there to have something, you know, looked at here or there, whatever. I mean,
and those reports can be reflected in the minutes.
Oh, yeah, they'll be attached to the minute.
You know, if people have questions or.
And it will sort of come in, the work that I will be asking you to make decisions on will probably come in spurts. There'll be something that I'll have a list of things we need to talk about. Then we may have almost nothing for a month or 2, and then we'll have a bunch of other things. And maybe things that need quicker resolution. But, you know, I've got to do some things related to get this project into a biddable set of documents. We have to hire an architect who is capable and willing to do that. I don't know if that's Robert or not. I won't know really until I talk to him tomorrow. There are architects, and John knows this, and you probably do too. Architects come up with this whole panoply of different approaches. Some guys, they give you a sketch and go, you know, you're Michelangelo, you go build this. Other guys want to give you a detail for every single thing in the universe. Some carry insurance, some don't. Some will work with other consultants underneath them, some will not. I have not had that discussion with Robert. So I have to find out what his feeling is and what his capabilities are, what his willingness is. And then to me, he's sort of, because he's so far down the road on this, he sort of puts himself in a situation as if we ask for a proposal. He doesn't have to reinvent the wheel. He could do this very simply, probably less expensive than anybody else can, but we will have an actual proposal for the architectural and engineer, the architectural work and everything that falls under the architect's responsibility. There will be a proposal for that. It will need to be approved, and that will be where some money will be spent. But I want to limit it as much as I can to that, cost, the cost delegated to me, the engineering cost, and then I will figure out what the permit fees are going to be.
Yep.
That will take me a little while.
No problem.
Which permits are you envisioning? The fire safety?
Yeah, well, that comes, that really, the fire safety permit, we won't get until we are up close to the building itself, the actual construction, so that.
But you need the MEP and all, you need all
Yes,
that
we
stuff.
have to have a complete set of drawings, so
Yeah.
for us to be able to submit it, and we have to have a reasonable idea of what it's going to cost.
Yeah.
And I will also be proposing, once we have a good, and part of my proposal to you includes a full estimate of the project, full professional estimate. That is part of the cost of doing this. Which I will supply to you with a complete breakdown for both buildings and everything else. So that will come across your desk eventually. That will happen, I suspect, sometime later this summer, when we're far enough along that we have a really good handle on the mechanical, electrical, anything civil, any changes have been made. Then we'll start talking about the exact dollar figures that or our estimated dollar figures. And then that, of course, that will ultimately determine what our fees are with fire safety for the state. I'm going to, with Scott, I'm gonna go through the list of all the permits that we have to have, just to make sure that we don't have anything that's outstanding or potentially outstanding. So I'll go through all of that with him when I meet with him, which will be probably sometime next week. Right? All right, so design, permitting, biddable documents, bidding, financial side of it, the bonding, those kind of things, and then, and this will be where I report. I'll bring the information here, or if Carl tells me he wants it to go to the select board, that's fine too, but I'll do that on a monthly basis.
Yeah, normally it gets approved here. And then it goes to the select board.
And this is, it will be approved here for, generally for anything related to, the town garage project as well, even though
Yes.
it's not theoretically labeled that way. Tracy's here, you're going to discuss those things here as well.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
and then that way there, you know, what we do is basically what this committee is in charge of there is to provide. Is basically providing a recommendation or giving it's okay that the select board can sign. You know, so.
Just, as far as, do you still see need for me to be part of this? I'm kind of not a voting member of this committee. I'm just,
We love to have
that's
your
all.
company though,
and
John.
that's fine.
I mean, that's totally up to you, John.
Well,
I
and,
mean-
and you're in good hands here. I mean, Don, what you laid out is what I've been telling everybody since we got here. But then I'm glad to be here as a sounding board or,
Well, I always like it there. When people have something. If they show up and they have something to
Okay,
say. I mean, that's my personal preference instead of getting. Waylaid there at the very end there at the 11th hour and then having. Stuff
And that's
come up,
fine.
so, I mean, that's my personal preference. I
Mhm.
mean. Well,
I would more than welcome your input on
Hmm.
any design.
okay, good. I just wanted to put that out there. And Don, are you okay with that?
Absolutely, John. I think more than likely what will happen is I'm gonna come knock on your door and take my plans, walk up the lake shore and we'll roll them out on your picnic table and talk. I think that will be probably the greatest service you can provide is to look at what I'm doing and what the designers are doing, and, you know, if it doesn't look right, you're a great set of eyes for that. You've done this long enough and you did a lot of commercial work, so you know it's a little different than the residential side. That we don't have the same level of flexibility. We're designing almost to a different standard in a sense. And these things, of course, change. In the 18 months I've been gone, things have started to change, you know. I found out as I was leaving Stewart Construction that you can't run a water. It used to let you'd run your 4-inch water main into a building. And you bring it up inside the building and you'd run your sprinkler off of that, and then you tap your domestic off that. Can't do that anymore.
Yeah, right.
Did you know this?
Yeah, I did.
I completely blindsided by this. You have to run one line for domestic water and one line for your sprinkler.
Well, there's a change I can see.
Actually, so on your building, he's got 2 lines.
There's two lines. yeah.
But not on the town, because all it shows is the existing.
Yeah.
And that, the existing is gonna work on the town one, so that's gotta be changed, but that's something these are all things that are sub rosa, they don't meet, these are not things that need to be discussed. Because they're code issues,
Right.
we need to follow the code. The thing that I'll be able to do, and I think John will help out, is we'll look at what the code says and go, okay. Are our designers, are the people who are planning this, are they using every means possible to keep to keep the cost down? Are they not? Because anybody who's ever worked with anybody in design, designers do what designers want to do, and then they tell you, this is what you have to do, because I think we should do this. And you have to say, no, we're not, that's not what we're gonna do. That's where John's really gonna be able to help, is he'll be able to look at this and go, I have a better path from A to B.
It's just the buildability.
And where we're gonna spend it, we're gonna spend a lot of money. It's gonna be a lot of the town's money, and we wanna spend every penny as wisely as humanly possible. And we're going to make mistakes, and we're going to have a contingency, so whatever we do, we'll come up with a contingency value that will be put aside. In addition to whatever, and that will have to be part of the bond, I would imagine.
Yep.
And of contingency, and then the process of building these buildings, we really haven't started to discuss yet. Because my service in building these buildings is not to be the clerk of the works, is not to be on site every day. But I will work in a sense as a liaison and as a set of eyes for the town in helping, like I'll help approve proposals. I'll help with change orders, those kind of things. But there is a day-to-day aspect of this that we do need someone who's capable and experienced with civil work, has some experience in civil and commercial work to be able to keep an eye on it, who knows how to read specifications. Because like, for example, we have no specifications with this. You can't bid a job without specifications.
Right.
You need specification, well, they've got to be produced. That's part of what the architects want to produce, and the engineers, proper specifications that'll be part of what we give to the contractors to bid on.
Yep.
And again, it's my strong feeling that this should just be a lump sum, single contract to do all the work. The demolition work of what's there, the general contracting work for both buildings, all the civil work. I believe it should be one lump sum. We talked also about
That'll get the most bang for buck.
unquestionably, and we want to let them build it. At some point, you say it's really the contractor's choice exactly how they do this. But we're gonna be very clear with the contractors. Here's your schedule. You can start, we're gonna have it bid. My goal is to have this bid early enough that all of the preliminary work can be done before they put a shovel in the ground somewhere around mid-March, late March, something like that. That submittals are done. It's just you light a match and the fuse burns and boom, the thing's done. Because we're gonna have to do that if they're going to get 2 buildings done and all the civil work over the span of about 9 months. They're going to really have to hustle. But that's who we want to hire.
Right.
We want to hire the guy who says, I have a plan. I got the energy, I got the people, I've got the subs. Get out of my way, let me go build this thing. That's who we want. I don't know who it's gonna be. I mean, I think this has to go out to people in Vermont, in New York. I don't think people come from farther away because it's not that large of a project. We don't want a construction manager who's gonna give us, you have 2 guys sitting here between us, well, he's 175 years old.
Yeah.
So he's got 150 years of experience. I have 3 years, we got 150 years of experience. We have experience. Plus, plus other people as well. So we don't need a construction manager for this project. We need a builder, someone who has the energy and the conviction that this is something we want to do. And part of what I talked to about with both of you is, I wouldn't do this work if it excluded Stewart Construction. But I want Stewart Construction to simply be a bidder like anybody else, and have the exact same opportunities
Mhm.
that anybody else has. And then, once we get bids back, then it would be the choice of the select board, or this committee of the select board, to select a contractor and negotiate it. I'll help. And again, these are the kind of things, I'll help in the negotiations. If it becomes a negotiating with Stewart Construction, let's say Stewart Construction is clearly low bid and you want to use them. If the committee or the select board is uncomfortable with my being involved, I will simply recuse myself, and we'll have to figure out another way. And then maybe John can help out. But a lot of this stuff is gonna be done. There won't be that much to negotiate. We do a good job of the drawings and a good job of the specs and a good job of telling people what we expect of them. That's been my experience. That gets you the person who's most interested, who will give you the fairest price based on circumstances. And hopefully, by the time we get to this, any of these imbalances that we're gonna be facing with tariffs and things like that will be sorted out. And we would hope so. If they're not, we're going to probably have to talk with the contractor or contractors and say, where are your items that are at risk? How much do you have in for your heating and ventilating system? How much do you have in for your cost of asphalt? If they say, well, listen, I've got, $47 for this, but it could be $147 by the time I get to actually buying this. And we have to figure out how to do that. Because we don't want to buy it ourselves and have it. That we don't want to do that. We want to get a full 1-year warranty on every single thing, and the other manufacturer's warranties that devolve to us as the buyer. We want one guy we can point to and go, you're the man, there's a problem, you come fix it. And it's how that's supposed to be done. So again, there may come a time when and I wanted to say this now, if people are uncomfortable, or if there are questions, I am known as a person of integrity. I'm not going to sacrifice that for the company that I used to own, or for you or anybody else. So if people have questions, they can simply approach me. If it becomes an issue where there's a conflict, I will simply step out of the way and do whatever I have to do.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah, I think one of the keys, as you say, is gonna be analyzing the bids. It's down the road a little bit, but that's gonna be an important piece in making those final choices and making sure that price is gonna be stable.
Right.
And I think we can, I don't think we need to go through a big pre-approval process. I don't think that's necessary for a project like this. However, I think we can say to the bidding contractors, look, just because you're low bid doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get the job. And then we may ask them to come in for an interview. And again, if it's the kind of thing where Stewart Construction comes in an interview, that's the night, I'll write out all the questions and hand them to you guys, and you can ask the questions. I just don't want there to ever be a smidgen of doubt that we've played this completely level. Because it doesn't, Pizzagalli did a job once in Shelburne. Well, Pizzagalli did put money into Shelburne, the town of Shelburne, for years. Well, who got the project in Shelburne to redo the town offices? Well, Pizzagalli did. Okay, fine. But this is a different situation, it's a different world, so we just want to make sure everybody feels like they're getting the right shake.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, excellent.
Are you guys still entertaining a clerk of the works? Chris is still on board?
Well, I think Don is looking at that, so we'll have to see there as far as who would.
Yeah, but that type of a position is something more than
Yeah,
first things you can make.
There are companies now in Vermont that this is not new. This is all they do is clerk of the works projects. All they do, and they're good at it. And I'm sure John's worked with a bunch of them, so have I. And that might well be the kind of person that we want to hire for this. And they don't, the person comes once a week, writes a report, The reports are collated at the end of the month. But they are a really good set of eyes on the project. The architect has to be willing to come, and I'm gonna put some pretty tight. I'll give you an example. One of the things that derails a project that is fast-paced is a contractor runs into an issue. It's a discovery issue. We're digging a hole, all of a sudden, we found a buried fuel oil tank. He can't just dig it up. He'd like to. He'd like to, he can't. It has to be abated. So he calls up whoever the clerk is. He says, I have an abatement issue. I have to get this decided. I can't work. It's right in the middle of everything. I can't stop. What happens sometimes is projects get delayed because the process of getting the problem fully understood, fully identified, priced, organized, and to the decision-making people takes a while, and the decision-making people, well, they'll take a while. All of a sudden you lost 3 weeks. We don't have 3 weeks. We have 3 days. So I'm gonna be telling the architects and the engineers that turnaround on issues within the project, you got 3 days. From the time we tell you what the problem is, what's gonna cost to fix it, you have 3 days to solve or tell us what the fix is. You got 3 days. And they are gonna scream bloody murder. We can't do that. Yes, you can. Because I'm telling you, you're gonna, if you want the project, this is what you gotta be able to do. You gotta drop other things and fix this problem. That's what you're gonna do on our project, because we do not have time for delays. And after this happens a couple of times, everybody goes, okay, I'll just do what I gotta do. Just the people don't wanna do that. That project once where
It's too bad there. It's not the good old days. You don't have to worry about that.
Dig it out.
Well, it even happened in the good old days.
anyways, I had a project once down at Williams College, and we had to give a set of drawings to somebody in Williams College, and they had 30 days to approve them. It was all done. I said, how long did it actually take you to approve these? He said 4 hours. So, but I took the full 30 days, but it only took me 4 hours to approve. Okay, it tells you a lot about the process. So we're not doing it. We will have a process in place as best we can. Get decisions made quickly. Discovery issues or anything else that we get them done quickly. We'll have other things that these will all be known to everybody ahead of time. We want the contractor to know, the architect to know, once you're in, this is a team. We're gonna work to get this done as efficiently and quickly as possible. Once people realize that, we're not asking you just to waste their time or spin their wheels. Get in, get the problem solved, get moving. We'll move along. So.
I'm on board with that.
If there's any jars of money there that are found there, that comes back to the town.
Not to the wasteland.
No, all right, super. Thank you, Don.
Okay, so again, just to the agenda, if anything pops up, shoot it out, email the group, we'll get it out of the agenda. Next meeting dates.
Month from today, right?
Second Wednesday,
Second.
14th of May.
May 14th.
Okay. This time good for everyone still? Does this continue to be good time?
Yes.
Yeah. Great.
6, we're done.
Yeah.
There's no-
So tell me when I need to have the information. I will at that point have a lot of things that will have been done. I'll have a bill ready to submit. But when do I need to get stuff to Marie to get on the agenda?
The agenda has to be out to the public, a full 48 hours prior to the meeting time, and I need to have some time to
Sure.
put it on the agenda. I've been posting the agenda as far in advance as I can, so I try to leave 3 or 4 days if I can. If I can't, and you let me know in advance that that's gonna happen, then I can sort of crowd the deadline, but I'd rather not crowd the deadline.
If I have stuff to you, I don't know how you work, but by, let's say Thursday, 5/8. Or Friday, 5/9, does that work for you?
Yeah.
I will aim for 5/8. The latest will be 5/9.
Okay.
And that gives you several days.
Yep.
You don't have to warn it until, well, that's probably not, I'll have it to you no later than the 8th. So 7th or 8th, is that, then you have enough time to do your fixing and go from there.
And not to cause. I've been thinking about this, so not to cause too much of a delay as far as. With like payment, because this one. So what I had said there before, we normally approve it there with this committee. But the town has entered into agreement with you anyway. So therefore, if you need to submit a bill for him, because our select board is the first and third, and this is the second. So instead of you having to wait, all right. Unless you put it to the committee on for the second. The second Wednesday, that means then the select board wouldn't hear it until the next Monday, you know.
So I'll try to get something in by the first Wednesday. I'll have something. So I should have that bill really should be in her hands by the end of the month, that it sounds like.
Yeah, well, because they're gonna need time there to put that, Corinne and Lisa there to put to get that on our agenda, you know,
I'll follow up with that and make sure that I got this one.
that would be perfect.
All right, any other business?
Nope,
All right, hearing none, motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 6:03 PM.
Motion by Carl, second by Tracy. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, thank you all.
Other people in this